Welcome back, friends. This is part 2 of my Monerva build. If you didn't see part 1, you should go check it out. The Monerva build is based on the book Map to Everywhere. It's a book series, and I made this little stop motion to describe the mechanics. It's kind of complicated. Monerva is like this city on a cliff, and it's sinking, and there's a lot involved. I don't have time to get into it all. Go watch video 1. And you will see I did a fairly poor job of explaining it there as well, so don't get your hopes up. You could read the books, I guess, if you wanted to really understand the mechanics of Monerva. I was a little sassy, sorry, I'm not trying to be mean to you. So anyway, part 2, I'm getting started with painting. Everything was primed when I left off, and now I gotta go paint everything. So, this is like a weird housing block. I don't know. It's made from a bottle, and there's a lot of EVA foam molding. And I guess I wanted it to look like sand. And this is my nautical themed restaurant that the book made no mention of, but I took some creative liberties, and I wanted a building with a boat sticking out of it. So that's what this is, and I'm just throwing a wash on it to make it look a little more realistic, but I don't know. They have to eat something at this place. Like, I don't know what they eat, but here's Annalessa's tower. She is one of the wizards in the story. We'll come back to that. I gotta do something fun at the end of the video for that tower. And then this is just a little market that I made. So, painting a few structures. This is Ellie, the levator snail. So one way they get around in this town is with tendrils from a giant snail, which is pretty weird. But I decided she should have kind of an alien looking paint job. I don't know why, but I think it's pretty. And I gotta build some stuff onto her later, but we'll get to that. This is just that crane that I built that's like connects parts, and I wanted this to be pretty too, so things that I want to be pretty, cranes, snails, yeah, I don't know, maybe everything should be pretty. I don't like make monsters or anything. It can be pretty or cute, I guess. So this is the really exciting part of painting. I was super excited to paint the background, and once it was done, it like changed how I felt about the whole project. It was like a huge milestone, basically. And you'll see it just like totally changes the look, and suddenly it looks like a wall. It looks like I'm building on an actual wall, so that's cool. And I'm just doing some dry brushing to bring out the edges of the air dry clay. This bottom part is meant to look like rock, and then this part is bricks. And dry brushing really brings out those details, so I really like how it looked after all of this. It's getting pretty exciting at this point, although I still had a long ways to go. And now I'm just painting the gears. Monerva has all these gears. Some of them operate and some of them don't. The gears are an important part of Monerva. So here I've started working on the sea that is in the bottom of this display box, shadow box thing. And right now it's just painted blue. I'm gonna do the toilet paper treatment thing to make it look like water down there. So, nothing special here. That's pretty much what everyone does to make water. You throw down PVA, you put some toilet paper over the top of it, and then you have some watered down PVA that you put on top of the toilet paper until you make like kind of a mushy slurry. And then you can kind of like smush it around and make it look like waves. And that's all I'm doing here. So my only guidance is don't overlap your toilet paper because it'll show. Other than that, I don't think it matters what your pattern is. I tried to like put enough of the watered down PVA over the top that you could not see the pattern for my particular brand, because that'd be weird. So it doesn't look like much at this moment, but you see how you can kind of push it around? That gives you a lot of control over like how the waves look. So I did triple ply by the end here, so I did 3 layers worth, and mushed it all around to get some good waveforms. I really like how it turned out. You don't have to wait for it to dry between layers or anything. You just like throw on more toilet paper and then wet it down again with each layer. You don't have to have more glue in between. And I've kind of pushed the toilet paper out of the way where my dock feet are going to land, because I want the dock to look like it's in the water, not on the water. I don't think this really mattered. I don't think it worked. Plus my dock is kind of bowing, so it extra like did not matter. I let it dry, I think probably overnight. And then starting with a nice dark blue as like the base color. Nice oceany blue, I guess. That's what that looks like. And then while it was still wet, I threw this like turquoise on top of it and kind of did a wet blend so it would blend in a little bit, make the water look not so deep. There's no beach. I don't know. I guess there would be a beach like normally, but I didn't do a beach, so whatever. Now I'm just hitting the edges with some nice white paint, and that really makes it look like waves. And I did a little lighter over on the right because I'm gonna have a waterfall that comes down there, so I wanted the water to look more like churned up, I guess. I didn't make much of an effort beyond that, but it was something. And there's my little dock. Just making sure if it's okay. So I'm moving on to this upper right hand corner. In the last video I asked you guys for suggestions of what I should put up there. It has to be a removable thing because I have to be able to access the batteries for the LED lights. I didn't get the greatest suggestions. One guy said I should include the guy from Portal, which I wasn't sure how that would make a lot of sense. But someone else said I should do stained glass, which I was totally down with, so I did include some stained glass windows. That was a good suggestion. So right now, I'm just creating some standoffs. These Monervans love their balconies, so I gotta like add some depth to this building so that they can stand up on those balconies. And on the left there, I was just doing some waterfall testing. I'll get back to that later. We don't have to talk about it now. But yeah, I wanted this structure. It's gonna be 3D, so it'll like stand off that corner, whatever, and then you can take it out. Like I'm not gonna attach it, so then I'll still be able to get to the battery packs. It's actually worked pretty well. You know, I was kind of like winging it, but it worked pretty well. And at this point, I realized I was kind of making like a steamship. It really looked a lot like a steamship. It's meant to be like an apartment building, I guess. And since you're going to see the rock wall behind it, or brick wall, I gotta make the wall into bricks. So that's all I'm doing here. It's just air dry clay over some foam core. A little bit of water to smooth it out before I carve in the brick lines. And as you can see, I'm pretty sloppy with the bricks. I don't think they need to be perfect in this situation. I find that anytime you're doing like a magical this or that, any kind of like magical diorama. If something is not, if it makes no sense or if it's like not perfect, you're like, well, magic, you know, obviously it's magic. So that applies there as well. Now it's extra steamshipy because I put in some portholes, and why not, you know, why not? I just used a hole punch. And then I'm using screen, this is just window screen. I wanted some texture on this like walkway, balcony areas for each floor. So you glue down some window screen and then you hit it with dry brush, and I think it kind of looks like tile. It looks like some kind of flooring, I don't know, brick or something. It's really easy and fast, so that's the main thing. And this is part 2 of Cats Are Jerks. I thought I would share this with you guys. This is the build-up. It's a real staring contest. Oh! Cats really are jerks. That's Wibbles. She can be a real jerk. Alright, so I was trying to use materials from, in the first video I emptied out this shadow box thing and it had all these weird spices and stuff, so I was trying to use that stuff just kind of a fun callback. So this is an ancient stick of cinnamon that I thought would look cool in this structure. It kind of looks like a really big beam, like a wooden beam. And most of Monerva is built from like reclaimed shipwreck parts, so kind of made sense that they would have these big beams. Like a mast, I guess, would be the ship term to use. And here I'm just adding some handrails. This is just plastic from my recycling that I'm making handrails from. And this is the only structure that got handrails. Monerva's actually like super dangerous. You just should not go there if you have any balance issues. You probably will plunge to your death. It happens all the time. It's unfortunate, you know. Maybe a snail will catch you? I don't know. And then I went around the windows with a gel pen. And this is the stained glass I spoke of. It's just Sharpie on some acrylic or whatever that plastic is. Some plastic. And you make a little design, and then on the other side you do the black outline, and I wasn't sure if I was on the other side or not, but you do the black outline, and then you have a stained glass window. And I did some crazy colors and zero pattern, and that's fine. It's just colorful. Now I'm making the doors. I did kind of screw this up. So these are coffee stir sticks. This worked okay, but I should have put like a piece of paper or something behind these doors because the light actually leaked through the cracks when I was done. So it'd be better if I had blocked that out with something. And now I am moving on to some more waterfall testing. So the first one I tried was Matte Mod Podge. And this is army painter glue that I never use. The kid at the comic book / whatever model store, he told me this was solvent glue, and I was stupid. It's not solvent glue. You wouldn't buy that in a plastic tube. That kid misled me. He did not know his glues, you know. He didn't know his glues. I fell for it because he looked like a nerd, and he seemed like he would know glue, but he did not know glue. I'm ranting. Anyway, army painter glue. And here's rubber cement. This backfired and it was pointless, so never try this. But I thought I would try it just to see how it turned out. That was rubber cement. Next up was quick dry PVA glue. I don't know if it matters that it's quick dry or not, but it was. And this stuff is kind of self-leveling, so as you'll see in the end result, it really makes quite a flat water. And finally I did gloss Mod Podge. And this was nice and flat too. Mod Podge, I guess, just is kind of self-levels. So that's what these look like after 24 hours or so. They all have pros and cons. The rubber cement's garbage, but the rest, they have pros and cons. So, that's the matte Mod Podge. The Army Painter one, I actually really liked the texture of that one, and this is the one I ended up using. Just kind of because of the texture, I think, mainly. I liked how it turned out. The Tacky Glue one, this one was like a little too flat. And the glass, this is like my second favorite. I throw a little paint on these to make them look more like churning water, but that one was my second favorite. I tried out a few different painting techniques as well. This was just like product testing all around. So for this one I did some, I did like a square brush, and then I did some stippling, and then I tried just like strokes up and down. And then I did like a big fluffy brush on the gloss Mod Podge. And I really like how that one turned out. Close second. But I did go with the Army Painter one. I installed that at the end and almost forgot. So now I'm working on lighting. The lighting in Monerva comes from the waters of the magical pirate stream. And they route it through all these tubes, so I use like straws and other tubes to send this lighting all around. But if you couldn't see it, I just tucked it away. I didn't put it in straws everywhere, but I added another set of lights to do more of the middle of the city, but the routing got a little crazy, as you can see. So I added like one more straw, but you can see some of the wires. I don't think it's the end of the world. I could have drilled holes and fed the wires in through the back. Maybe. I don't know. That would have been a lot harder and more complicated. So I just decided to accept that I was going to be able to see some wires. So here, I didn't want my crane to block the building up in the upper right hand corner that I would be able to remove. So I built this little hinge and used magnets, and you will see it later. Sorry. So now, I'm doing how they get around in Monerva, like how they move things around and how they themselves, the Monervans, get around. And they have a lot of cranes, so I'm building a crane chain or whatever with some pile of sticks or wood at the bottom. They take construction materials from the bottom of the city, which is sinking into the ocean, and bring them upward with cranes. And then other stuff, like people, get transported with snail tendrils, which is kind of gross and weird, but that's what I'm making now. I just used some string. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. They have, I don't know. They like built these platforms on these snails, and there's stairs, and they put cranes on them. It's all kind of questionable. Like, I don't know. Is this abusive? Maybe, but Ellie the snail is like a character in the book, and she seems happy with her job, so I don't know. I guess we don't have to be too worried about it once again, because it's a book and not reality, and I don't need to like go throw red paint on anyone or call PETA or anything, so I guess it's okay. Anyways, I'm just building a crane here with some Q-tip tube, and this is toothpick, and I just use some beads for like the joints. I wanted it to look crane-like, but it didn't have to function or anything. It just had to have like the general outlines of a crane, and I think it does. So yeah, threw a chain on it. That's a coated paper clip. I also added a little sport to make it look a little more crane-like. And then I added a second story to that weird platform and built a little like go switch handle. I forgot to put a motor of any kind on this thing, so I don't know what that handle is doing. Maybe, I don't know. It's not doing anything because it's not real, but none of this is actually real, technically. And then this is from my gnome house build. I built this cute little like well thing that holds the bucket down and lets it down into the water. I don't know what you call that. I built it, but it was like way too huge for my gnome house, so now I'm using it for this build. Hooray! So I'm just making a little suspended crane to go in this upper corner area that's kind of empty, and I'm using cinnamon sticks again and a piece of bark because I had it, and it kind of looks like reclaimed wood, and the top of an acorn because it was on my desk. And I make a little crane. So it's like a quick and dirty kind of thing. I didn't want to make some elaborate thing because honestly I was tired of this build by this point and I wanted to move on. But I thought it was still pretty cute. So you'll see. Turns out pretty good. I use hot glue and PVA in a lot of places because hot glue holds for the moment but not for the long term, so I usually end up doing both. And now I'm adding ladders. The Monervans use a lot of ladders. I'm just pointing them out where I've installed them. They're just getting around with ladders in this town, which sounds terrifying. Once again, I mean, people are probably just dying left and right in this place unless there's some kind of magical way that they avoid that. I don't know. It's just not a very safe place to live. Okay, and now we've reached the greeble phase, so this part's really fun. I'm just adding lots of little bits and bobs. That's a bit of polymer clay from a cane that I made that is meant to look like stained glass. And I just started installing little things that I thought would look cute. And because the city's kind of like always being taken apart and built higher up the wall since it's sinking, there's lots of wood laying around, I imagine. So I was just like cutting up wood and leaving it laying around. That wood is just from shipwrecks, so I imagine it's probably sitting around. Lots of random planks. And I had some miscellaneous kind of crap just floating around that I also put in here. I had one of those handle thingies. Can't remember what those are called. Very steampunk. And I used a lot of beads for planters. You'll see, I'm gonna add plants later, but at this point I was just putting in little things that add the details that make it seem more realistic, like a barrel. This seems like the kind of building that would have a barrel in front of it. And some of these are like train set parts. That staircase was from either HO or N-Scale. I guess HO maybe, I'm not sure. Megan's swiping at my door. I don't know if you can hear that. And this little piece of cloth is from the original deconstruction that you would have seen in video 1. And I added it as little flags. And now I'm just building a match pergola. Oh my god, I have to let the cat in. Hang on. Okay, Megan's gone. Back to work. Match pergola. Yes. So, pretty straightforward. Yeah. Pretty straightforward little structure. It's like a table with slats. Easy peasy. Oh, and I added some corner bracing so it wouldn't be wobbly. And I'm doing a little bit of a wash on the things I have that are just like unstained. And now I'm gonna make some flocking. And this is like poor people's flocking. I find Woodland Scenics stuff very expensive, so as part of my SimCity build, I realized you can just use foam core and just kind of shred it and then paint it, and you get a decent flocking. So this is, yeah, flocking for people who can't afford flocking. And I tried both acrylic paint and ink to see if there was any difference, and there was not. I got a nice vibrant green there. It's a little over the top, but yeah, you spread it out. It takes kind of a while to dry and it clumps together a bit, but I think it's decent for making bushes. And now, for some reason, I'm hammering peppercorns from the original thing, another reclaimed material. And now I'm like milling pepper, so that just got out of hand. I don't know. Onward. There are chimes in Monerva, and I'm just showing you kind of what they're gonna look like. I used a can, like a tin can, or no, aluminum can, to make these little chimes. I have a little hole punch and used some really thin, wiry wire. And I made like a little mobile that is chimes, and that kind of fills in that little space up there. And now I'm putting some rope around that crane that I built, and we are moving on to greenery. This part was really fun. Like, greebles are great, but adding moss to everything, super fun. Hard to know when to stop, but Monerva has all these hanging gardens, so I wanted it to look very like lush and have lots of things hanging. This is, I think it's called reindeer moss. I don't know why, but you get it at the craft store and it comes in a bag. It has all these clumps that you can just glue everywhere, and I think they look really cool. So that is what I did. Gives everything a lot more character if you can like dress it up with some plants. Additional layers of texture are always good. And this is that foam core flocking I made. So I made some planters and I jammed some of that foam core in there, and I made a little tissue flower, one and only one, because I didn't like it. And I did another one of those little plants. I just wanted little pops here and there, so that's all I was going for. This little bit of branch, don't know what you would call this. I got that as part of another miniature set that I built like a kit, and it makes really good tiny little trees, so I put that in a few of those planter boxes. And right now I'm just putting moss at the bottom of Annalessa's tower because I kind of screwed it up and there was a big gap underneath her tower. So moss is a really good way to conceal that, although the door looks kind of jacked up. But, and that vine, it was just hemp rope. And those peppercorns that I went through the trouble of milling are going to be barnacles on my ship hull. And actually, the barnacles in the story are creatures who poison you. So this is not totally accurate, but that's okay. I didn't want to make those little feathery creatures. And this is pan pastel. I happen to have a green pan pastel, so I'm just making things look a little mossy, as I figured they would be being next to the sea. And now I'm gonna put some chicken legs on Annalise's tower. In the story, her tower has chicken legs, and they're running on a gear, so they're like constantly running because the gear is turning. And obviously, I'm not up to making that an actual whatever. I wasn't up to making that, so I decided I would make it look like her tower is sitting down. And so I needed some chicken legs to go next to each side of the tower. And I made these, and these were not good. The wire was too thick, and the feet looked terrible, so I basically just baked them a little bit, and I will use them some other day. But I started over with thinner gauge wire, and I made some talons, and made new feet. And they're not great, but the more details you add, like when I first made these, I thought, wow, these are the worst things ever. But the more details you add, like I added the webbing between the toes, and I added the claws, and then I added all this, I don't know, chicken feet are really gross. I don't know what you call these segmenty bits, but I added all these lines, and it looked better and better the further I went, and you'll see, I ended up with some decent chicken feet without knowing what chicken feet look like or looking up a reference image because I'm lazy. So I just used an extruder and made some little wormy dealies, as Adam would say, and then I kind of mushed the clay a little so it would look more like kind of skin and not so much like perfectly coiled wire. Honestly, it looks like wire, but mushing it up helped a little bit. And then I baked the feet first, and then jammed the wires into these leggy bits. And this process, honestly, it was kind of disturbing because I felt like I was breaking this chicken's leg every time I would like move it around. But I'm using Bacon Bond to I'm just mushing it in, and it's gonna hopefully hold the leg on okay. And I basically ended up with a leg that looks like it has a leg warmer on it, but I'm okay with that. So I painted them up, and I think they turned out okay if you can get over the leg warmer action. It's pretty weird, but I like it. So that's it, you guys. Like, I put him in the sign, and that is it. So on to the glamour shots. See, I got the waterfall installed. It's looking pretty good. This is the lit version, and after this I'll show you what it looks like in the dark. This was a really fun build. I always say that. I always enjoy these. I guess that's why I do it, but this one in particular it just turned out really well. I'm really proud of this one. Maybe I'll hang it up in my bathroom or something so I can just admire it every day while I brush my teeth. I don't know. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. You guys are great. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.